All right, the time is 6:30, March 12th, 2024, Abington Conservation Commission meeting. I am going to recuse myself from the first item. Lynn, take it away.
All right, so this is regarding SE 084510, request for certificate of compliance located at 1400 Bedford Street. They have continued, so can I get a motion to continue this?
I'll make a motion to continue SE 084-510 till the next conservation meeting
Second.
on
March
March
26th?
26th.
Didn't they
Is that right?
continue at the last meeting?
Yep.
Why? What's going on up there?
They
They
were
applied
told to
for
come
it, but-
in, and they have an RDA, and they just haven't done, they were supposed to have an RDA, they haven't done it, so they keep continuing.
Well, I would, yeah, I'd go along with continue it to the next meeting, then I'd pull it and let them apply when they're ready.
Okay,
So,
all right.
just my suggestion.
So we had a motion for March 26, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, next up is request for determination of a facility located at 106 Lincoln Street. I'll just give a rundown. So at the last meeting, this is for an addition to an existing property on yesterday, Monday. Alex Bezanson, G. Matiosis, and I did a site walk over there, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yes, so we,
Name and-
my name's Sam Kish with WIT Contracting, representing the homeowners, Mary, Emily, and Carol at 106 Lincoln Street. At our last meeting, I had a request for some larger printouts of the site plan, so. Those for you guys. You can distribute those however you want. Go with that now.
Thanks.
Share one and- Yeah, let's use this one.
I did drop down the size so I wasn't too obnoxious. They were like 24 by 36, and I was like, yeah, the table's not that big.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
So we're looking to construct an in-law addition. At the previous meeting, there were some questions on the BVW line. Since then, I sent in the wetlands report, which was provided by Pine Brook Consulting. You guys should have got that, I think, a week and a half ago or so.
Yep.
Yep.
Everyone's got that. And then we did the site visit on Monday just to confirm the space. This addition will be on footings. So no part of this addition is actually, other than the footings, is making contact with the ground, so there's no, that space is clear underneath. We did confirm yesterday as well, about half of the space, maybe a little bit more than half the space that's covered by the addition is already gravel, and the rest of it is lawn space. So there's no additional, there's no other growth down there. Half of it's already just gravel, so we're not disturbing any existing growth there that's not just lawn space.
Did you guys see at the walk?
It's a very tight lot. We did see how far out it would come. There's going to be, well, from the plans that were submitted, there were 4 posts coming across the long way, and then you were having another set on the inside. It's all lawn there now anyway. There's right up to the fencing, and right on the other side of the fence was probably another 10 feet, and the flagging was right there, so.
And like we were talking about yesterday at the meeting with the topography, I was surprised at how dry
Yeah.
the area
I mean, the
in front
land
of the front fence was.
just goes right down to the
Yeah.
wetland. So,
But it's really dry there,
it was supposed,
Yeah.
yeah, I was really kind of surprised to see that it was.
after all that rain.
Yeah.
It drops off, according to this, almost 5 feet
Yep.
just from the house. Yeah, I don't see a problem with this, especially being up on pilings. The chain link fence is on the inside of the flagging, so nothing's gonna go beyond the chain link fence, obviously.
Right,
Where's the?
So,
right.
I have no
Okay.
problem with this.
So any ground that's disturbed is basically already disturbed, right? It's grass.
Yes, yeah, there's no existing wetland space there. And typically what we do, and I can coordinate this with the building department as well, anytime we're remotely close to wetlands, when we're digging footings, we usually dig them and then immediately backfill, so we don't have any piles of anything. I know we do have spec'd out on here, I'm looking at the wrong page. We do have erosion control spec'd out there. But like I said, typically what we do there, in the building department's usually pretty okay with this, because they can still measure the holes, they can check their depth and everything. We just backfill right after we dig, and that just keeps it so we don't have any piles of
The only
anything.
concern I have on the footings is, I'm not sure they're gonna allow you just to do straight 12-inch sonotubes.
Okay,
I think they're probably gonna want a Bigfoot or something
A
like
Bigfoot.
that. So I would check with him.
Yep.
Because if you're gonna do that, you're not gonna be able to do it by hand.
we've done it, it's not fun, but we do it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I personally, once I walked out went through that fence, I don't know how you'd bring equipment in there anyway.
no,
Well, you could
there
bring it.
there's no comfortable
A
way to
little-
do it.
yeah,
anyways.
yeah.
You could
little
bring an
plow.
auger
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a small.
Right,
Yeah.
A
Walk
hand-
behind excavator or something.
Yeah, we have a hand auger that ideally we would like to use, but,
Yep.
but again, that stays, it digs the hole, it goes right up, back
Yeah.
up against the
Yeah.
house, so
Yeah.
we've got nothing
Yeah.
going anywhere near
and
there.
it's all gravel up against the house.
I'm
like-
just saying,
yeah.
you may, I don't know if your auger goes down and has the one that spreads out for the Bigfoot, but.
It does not, and I've dug them by hand, and it's not fun, but
Yeah.
we got a young crew, we can handle it for a few more years.
So I would just check with the building department to see if he's
Yeah,
gonna.
he and I have already had a conversation about it, I'm 90% certain I already had that question to him, but, I'll double check that with him, of course, before we go any farther.
So half of it's already gravel and the half is lawn.
I'd say
There-
probably
More than
three-quarters of it's
half.
gravelled, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's
there's
a little bit
no
more than that, yeah.
Yeah, under where the proposed addition is, it was
Right.
all
Underneath
gravel,
there?
pretty
So there's
much.
not gonna extend the gravel, or are you just gonna leave as?
I'm not planning to.
Okay.
There's not really much of a benefit to it. It's, if the addition was low to the ground, then we would for drainage and airflow, but the additions, especially with how much that lot drops off, the addition's
Yeah,
gonna be
it's
so
like-
high up in the air,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have any issue with airflow underneath it.
I know at the last meeting, it was mentioned about, we could probably address the fact in the order of conditions, should it go that way, that there'd be no storage
Right.
built underneath there, because that was a concern that was raised.
Yeah, yeah, and are you, for that, just so that I can communicate it to the homeowner, specifically that there's no structures out of there, no sheds or anything like that, but do you want no storage under there at all? So-
If they wanna put lawn chairs or something.
Well,
Well,
right,
yeah,
that's
I
my
mean-
question, just so I can communicate
Yeah,
that well.
I mean,
if
a
the kid
lawn
wants to put
chair
his
is
bike-
one thing, or kids' toys is one thing, but I'm saying as far as, storing equipment.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, no
Limited-
parking the lawnmower underneath the addition.
Limited
comes.
storage,
All
how
right.
about that?
That works.
This home, they're not someone who's gonna push the envelope, they're very relaxed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
I'm
mean-
not concerned about that, but I just wanna make sure that I
Yep.
communicate that effectively so that if for some reason someone's walking around and they go, hey, you've got it, somebody stuck their bike down there, they're not supposed to do that. Just wanna make sure I give them,
I think
Give them the
it's,
right information.
sit-down lawn mowers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Would be more of the concern than anything else.
okay.
Anything with
But
fuel.
bikes or.
Yeah, anything with fuel or oil or
Yeah.
anything like
Right.
that. Oh, of course.
I'm feeling like with all that gravel, it'd be pretty kind of hard to, not exactly something I would want to store that stuff anyway. Kind of shifty surface.
Yeah.
What's
That's just
what's
me.
the clear height gonna be from the gravel to the, underside?
To the underside, right up against the house, my guess would be, because there's a little bit of a step down into the basement, so it's probably gonna be about, I'd say 7 feet or so, and then that'll extend out as it goes out and the lawn drops down.
Right.
Yeah,
So probably without having, I won't know until we pull some siding off and actually set it, but probably between 6 and 8 feet throughout
Well,
there.
at least I could get under there without hitting my head.
Yep.
As far as the erosion control, just keep it 30, because we have the 25-foot no disturb. So
Mhm.
just keep the erosion control 25 feet. I know you have the swing set over there, so.
Sure.
If you have to, just tuck it around. Don't go right through the swing set
Yeah.
if it's in the way. I don't want you to move the swing set, just go
Yeah,
around it.
we'll put it as close to the build site as
Yep.
we can, and everything, it's no problem to have everything inside that space.
Yep.
Once we get the floor built, then we've got our own roof, so.
Anybody have anything else?
No.
Got it.
Bring it to the audience. Anybody here for 106 Lincoln Street? All right, bring it back to the board. Now, Justin, this is, I told Joshua at the last meeting, this is
Yeah,
very,
confusing.
this is probably the most confusing thing we do, because a negative is a positive for the,
Because
For
I'm
the
gonna
applicant.
make a motion for negative determination, which is good for them.
Got it.
do I have, Alex, you made a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Now, so what do we want to put for conditions on there? The erosion control's got to be on the 25-foot no build or around the swing set if it's in the way.
And the storage under the addition.
Limited storage underneath
Limited.
the addition.
Right.
No chemicals. No fuel.
No fuel or
No fuel
pesticides.
or pesticides.
Oh, your phone
Or
looks like mine. I was just gonna go.
You go home with my phone, I go home with yours.
Anything else? All right. That's it.
Perfect.
All
Thank you
set.
so much.
Oh, geez.
What's the processing time before I go have a conversation with the building department?
We're gonna we'll sign it tonight, so,
We're not in a rush, just
Yeah.
so I don't show up and they go, what are you talking about?
no, we'll sign it tonight,
Perfect.
so Tony can get it to you, or. Okay.
No rush, it's good. Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next up, SE 084-551, request for an amended order of conditions located at 714 Bedford Street. So, I think Alex and Josh and Dan, I don't think you guys were on the board when this came before us. I'm sorry, Justin, that you guys weren't on the board when this came before us back in November, December of 2021. It's basically the new dentist office down,
On Route 18?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
I think the work is substantially done. I know I did a site walk out there with Tim last year. Before they were supposed to come in for the order of conditions, we just wanted the grass to grow a little bit more. For the certificate of compliance, we wanted the grass to grow a little bit more, and then I guess a drainage issue came up since then.
Yes, good evening, folks. Jim Borback with OHI Engineering. We're the engineers on the project. I have the green cards. So there have been some stormwater issues or concerns that have been identified since the construction, and we're seeking an amended order to rectify those. In the northern parking lot, we're proposing to remove about 2,700 square feet of the pavement. It's the gray colored area that's on here. It's not colored in on the plan that you folks have. Remove the pavement, regrade it, We're proposing to install a trench drain in front of the sidewalk that leads to the northern lower level. We're seeing some water coming down that sidewalk. We want it to go back to the infiltration basin as was originally designed. So we propose to catch that in a trench drain, direct the trench drain to a new catch basin in the northeast corner of the parking area, and then that gets discharged to the forebay, the sediment forebay. Almost all of the work is outside the buffer zone. We have about 50 square feet to put in a new flared end section at the sediment forebay. We're also proposing to increase the infiltration just north of the building. There's been some ponding and flooding issues that have occurred there, particularly some of those heavy downpours over the summer. And we had originally showed an extension of an existing French drain there. So what we're showing now are 4 Caltech rechargers, a catch basin grate, a small landscaping grate to let the water get into this system a lot easier than just infiltrating through the grass. And that should resolve the issue to the north of the building. That area is entirely outside the buffer zone. We're looking to get this work done starting very early May. I'd expect a few weeks to complete the work and get it restabilized. There's a slope between us and our direct abutter that would get regraded and loamed and seeded, and once that's all been stabilized, we'd be back in front of you for a request for the COC. Happy to take any questions.
I have none. Like I said, I've done multiple site walks out here. I have no issues with what they want to do.
Do you have to
Sounds like
go-
it's needed, so.
Sorry. Do you have to go back to planning since it's stormwater?
I don't believe so. There's been no real change to the stormwater, the overall subcatchments. All the water's going where, well, it isn't right now, but once we get the work done, all the water would mimic exactly the way we had it originally designed. So they've been notified of the work we're planning. I don't believe we need to go back in front of them.
Okay, thank you.
So this was a mistake, not graded properly originally? You don't have to throw anyone under the bus, I'm just curious.
Let's just say we want to fix what's out there and get it to operate the way it should.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything?
No.
All right, open up to the audience. All right, bring back to the board. Anybody have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead. It's all yours.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for an amended order of conditions located at 714 Bedford Street for SCO 84551.
Second.
Oh, Dan
You were-
Dan beat you.
Oh, all right, sorry. I thought he wasn't on the board then.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Can you vote for it if you were
But it's still
on the
business
board?
before us right
It's
now.
all right,
Yeah.
still business
Yeah.
before us,
Yeah.
all right, okay. Thank you,
All those in
We're
favor?
actually voting
Aye.
on this.
thank you.
Thank you very much, folks. Have a good evening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you too.
Me too.
It's a nice project, it came out really nice.
Do you think we need, I don't think we need to add any conditions to your.
I don't think it's
just-
necessary.
No,
I think they did a great job up there
Yeah.
in what they did.
they did a really nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Beyond Dental, yeah, they did a nice job. Okay.
All right, next up, SE 084-571, notice of intent located at 1065 Bedford Street.
Mr. Chairman, Sean Riley, attorney at 500 Washington Street. I'm here with Steve Goslin, who just asked me to stand up and talk for him briefly to request a continuance of this matter. I need to get up to speed on it, and we were just looking at schedules of vacations and school vacations. Even though it's putting off his project, we're looking to see if we can get a continuance to April 23rd, which would be the fourth Tuesday in April. the prior Tuesday.
So 3 meetings from now.
I think that's correct, if the board doesn't mind it. With vacations and stuff, I can't be here on the 9th, he can't be here before that, so the 23rd is the first available date. if
Okay.
that's-
I have no problem. Anybody in the audience here for this property? All right, I'll bring it back to the board. If somebody, if there's no further discussion, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue SC 084571 until the April 23rd meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. All right, next up is,
We actually have the SE
yeah,
number.
we have the SE number here.
Right here.
Oh, do we have a SC number on that?
Yep. SE 084-0572, located at 75 Block Street.
And we're waiting for our engineer to come in, and I'm not sure if that's him pulling in right now. Sean Riley, 501 Washington Street, sorry, for the record, representing the applicant and the owner. Grady Consulting is on their way. He knows it's a 6:30 meeting, and he knows he has the plans. If I can ask, I know there's only there's some other discussion items, but if we could table this for perhaps 5 minutes, and I'll get him in here as soon as he comes up the stairs. Apologize.
I'll see if I can kill 5 minutes with the other stuff then.
Okay.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Okay, we'll make a motion to table this until their engineer gets here.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, next up, update on complaint from DEP located at 267 North Quincy Street. We sent out, I think, we sent out a regular mail and certified mail. They acknowledged the regular mail? No certified? Okay. So they sent Tony an email yesterday or Sunday, basically saying that they got the letter, and Tony reached back out to him to try and set up a site walk for the property. And that's basically where we stand now with that. So, now that they've been in receipt of our letter, how much time do we want to wait? Well, how much time do we want to give them to respond to getting us on the property before we?
So what did the letter say?
It was our standard conservation letter that says you have a complaint on the property, except from, it usually says an anonymous complaint. I just substituted with a DEP complaint because it came directly from DEP.
And you sent the complaint with that as well?
Yes. An additional thing was DEP had called today, earlier, and they were looking for a status update, which I've given them, and they're gonna see if they can do anything for us as well.
Okay.
And was that the Wetlands Division or Solid Waste Division?
A different one.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I'm gonna reach out to, I forget what her name was, but I'm gonna reach out to her tomorrow and see what they're looking for, if, even what part of DEP she's with,
Okay.
and see, if we can help them, or if they, more importantly, if they can help us get out there.
So he acknowledged he got the letter requesting,
His wife did,
okay,
yeah.
requesting us to get a date when we could go out there.
No. Tony responded to the email yesterday asking to set up a
Okay.
She
meeting.
replied saying, can you please only use this address?
Okay.
And provided me a different address than what was originally provided.
Well, and she also said 267 North Quincy Street, which we sent multiple
We sent multiple.
letters to before that went unanswered.
Anything that goes out certified, we haven't got a receipt for yet.
Oh.
But any of them. But all of the ones that haven't gone out certified, they've replied to. So I don't know if it's like staying at the post office and they're not picking them up, or what the situation is.
Well, let me ask you, Alex and Rich, you guys have been out to the site, right? Would it be possible that the person delivering the certified mail wouldn't be delivering it to the right place out there?
in that particular location, anything is possible.
There's a lot of places.
But, I mean, they're in the trailer out front,
Yeah.
so
Right.
that's where they must be getting other mail.
And I'm sure
The
the
thing
post
is,
office is
if-
very familiar with it, so.
If you're sending regular mail as well as certified, if they're getting the regular mail, why would they go pick up the certified?
Right.
That's what's happening,
Well-
probably.
So I guess.
So they have it, so the next thing is, when can we get out there?
How long are we gonna wait?
Well, that's, I mean,
That was what you were asking. Do we give them,
More than 30
a week?
days.
I would say
2
30
weeks?
days would
30
be.
days?
be
That's being
tops.
generous, I would
Yeah.
say 2 weeks.
Yeah, 30 is too much, but.
Yeah. I mean, this has been going on since we got the
Yeah,
letter
I think
in
an attorney
April.
would say probably 30 days. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's just that it's been going
Yeah,
on
yeah,
since
no, I know.
April.
well, can we do like a
Long
2
before
week?
that.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
when
before-
DEP sent the
right,
letter
yeah.
to
Yeah,
us,
we
it
go
was
like
in
we talked
April
about.
of
Yeah.
2023.
Town council involved, yeah.
Could we do, say, a 2 weeks, and then that's when we send a follow-up saying, hey,
That makes sense.
haven't heard from you, if they haven't, I mean, they
Yeah.
could,
Yeah,
they
we could
could.
say 2 weeks, and then if we don't hear from them, then let's talk to KP
Yep.
Law and just
And
get
then
it
that would
at
be
the
the
courts.
30 days.
Yep.
At the 2-week mark, do we want another letter and an email to go out?
No,
Or
I
just
think
an
after
email?
2 weeks, if they don't let us get out there after 2 weeks, then we talk to KP Law
Yeah.
and get a court order to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we had to do before.
Oh, really?
The selectmen had to.
And let's see what DEP has to say,
Yeah.
what the email.
Who's the new contact for DEP?
Well, this, she was someone completely different than we've been talking, what's her, Jacqueline?
Jacqueline, yeah.
Yeah, so this was someone completely different, but she didn't really say which part of DEP she was with, right? What did she say? Water quality?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
One of the issues with the history of the site, which I think everybody has seen what I put together, is that there seems to be a confusion on the part of the owner as to what DEP division. So when they would come for us, and I mean us as Conservation Commission,
Yep.
not people here, they would say, oh yeah, DEP's fine with everything, but it was DEP solid waste. There's a separate division for DEP wetlands.
Right.
That has never, we've never had anyone,
Separate division for air quality, but asbestos air quality.
Yeah.
yeah. It's-
Separate division that writes checks out to contractors for projects. No, I'm serious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this-
No, is that the HR or is that a separate
just-
division?
No, just another division of DEP. They basically make sure you're in compliance with whatever they're funding, and they fund it.
Okay.
alrighty.
All right, next up, building permits and site visits. So we already talked about the site visit we did yesterday at 106 Lincoln Street. I did a Alex and I did a site walk at the dog park last Friday.
Yeah.
How'd that go? Sorry.
Alex, you wanna,
I was there
Yeah.
today.
you have
So,
more of a history with that than I do.
So, yeah, as you know, in 2015, I was involved in putting the committee together, got the dog park, and we got the grant to do it. And I did the final walk with Tim Warner and the then town manager and the dog park committee. And at the time, I told the town manager that the replication was wrong. And he argued with me, and it is definitely wrong. It looks like they didn't do any plantings whatsoever. I'm told that they did, but they probably died off. So I gave a copy of the plans to a contractor to give us a ballpark on what it would cost to go in there and do the replication properly. And I talked to Scott, and Scott said to get a price, and we don't know where the money will come from, but we need a price to begin with. So that's what I'm working on now. I gave the file back to Tony the other day, and I should have the price on what the replication would cost.
The contractor, is he a wetland scientist or just a contractor? And
He's a contractor that's done this type of work.
He's very experienced in wetlands. He's served on conservation commissions.
Yeah.
Can we say who
He's
his
actually,
name
he's
is?
actually chaired conservation commissions.
So the
And I'm not saying we're going, he's
Okay.
just
He's
giving
just-
us a price.
Oh, okay.
Just so we know,
Okay,
it's probably gonna have to go out to bid, I'm sure it's gonna be more than $10,000.
okay.
So it's gonna have to go out to bid, but we need a ballpark number.
Yeah, yeah,
Of
I
what it
see.
is, so.
I just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the original contractor didn't do their job.
And we
No.
have no recourse on that because of
He's
the,
been paid in full, and the town manager at the time paid him in full.
Mr. LaFawn.
And Tim and I were there that day, and we both told him it's not done. So, I was a
So-
selectman, Tim was on the conservation at the time.
Okay, so like with any normal NOI and order of conditions, there's that 2-year period after the fact that they're supposed to monitor to make sure that 75% of it is successful?
I don't know what was in the order of conditions at the time. I wasn't on the conservation
Oh,
commission.
okay.
What was that, around 2017?
I'd say probably because we started the process right after I first got elected in 2015.
Can we look at that NOI to see if we have any recourse at all? And if it was in the order of conditions? I mean, I don't know what it would do, but if
Yeah.
nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So if you could pull that, I'd like to take a look at that COC, I mean, the NOI, sorry.
Yeah, do you want it right now?
No, later, afterward. I just want to take a quick look.
Okay.
Actually, I know where to pull it, just unlock the door, I'll go get it.
It's actually in the office.
Oh, is it? Oh, you already
No,
have it
I
now?
just gave it back to him.
Oh, all right, yeah.
I did another site walk yesterday up at Ames Knoll, just to see what the temporary repairs over at the path,
By the big rock.
Big Rock, yeah, on the
Yeah.
other side of the bridge.
Yep,
I issued a emergency certificate for them back in, I think, the beginning of February. They did the work 2 weeks ago, and just with all the rain that we've had the past week, I want to see if there was any washouts or any ruts of the gravel, and everything looked good. The erosion control is still there. I didn't see anything piled up in front of the erosion control, so they're working on a more permanent solution over in that area. They were talking maybe doing like a dry well or something. But they'll get something put together and come before us whenever they're ready. I think that's it for sidewalks, right?
We need one for this property.
Well, we'll talk about this one.
That's it, I think.
You guys ready, or can I go over the meeting minutes real quick?
Go ahead.
And I didn't sign any site building permits since our last meeting. When to do? Okay. So we have the meeting minutes for February 28th. Anybody have any questions on those? Wants us to hurry up. Yeah, I'll just be Gene, Alex, Lynn and I voting on this one.
So that's the 14th?
The last meeting we had.
Oh, the last meeting, February 22nd.
If there's no issues, I will take a
Motion to
motion.
approve.
February 28th.
Yep.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Do we have any correspondence? Yeah, we do. Where'd it go? Couple letters from National Grid and Eversource. I'll let those float around. John, you all set? You want me to open it back up?
We're all set whenever you're up, so I
Okay.
apologize.
All right, I'm gonna reopen SE 084-0572, notice of intent located at 75 Block Street.
Okay, thank you for your indulgence. Apologize for the delay. Sean Riley, 500 Washington Street, representing the owner applicant, Gosselin Home Builders, and Mr. Steve Gosselin, who's sitting here in the front row. With us tonight also is our wetland scientist, Brooke Monroe of Pinebrook Consulting, and Paul Marabito of Grady Consulting, our surveyors and engineers. Brad Holmes of ECR, also environmental consulting and restoration, also worked in this project with us. We're prepared and we're proposing to tear down the existing dwelling at 75 Block Street, raise the 2 dilapidated sheds in the rear yard, remove the existing broken up driveway pavement. There's also a rear cement patio at the rear of the house to be removed, a large cement footing in the rear yard to be removed, 2 areas where the grass and vegetation no longer grows due to the presence of an old swimming pool and piles of junk and debris. Much of the junk and debris has been removed by the current owner, but more work still remains. I wanted to show you some copies, some photos, just so we're all in this same working knowledge.
Oh, thank you. I'll go on for that too.
Just to take a look through these photos just quickly so we can all get acclimated. I know that Lynn and Jean were able to get out to the site walk the other day. I'm not sure if anyone else has been there, so I just wanted to show some photos. First page obviously just shows the existing house, and I have some commentary at the bottom. The front steps are actually over the street line. The edge of the pavement is not the street. The street line is actually back beyond the pavement. So the front of the house is literally on the lot line, and the stairs are over the lot line. You can see the back of the house, shows you can see where the trash barrels are. That's the old paved, not paved, concrete patio. On page 2, just try to move through these as I can, quickly as I can. Just a view kind of looking down from the side of the house, looking down towards the driveway. You see the paved driveway goes all the way out to that red shed. And then there's a smaller red shed to the far left of the property you see in the distance. You can also see the neighbor's house to the far left. On the bottom photo is a picture now looking northerly, standing in the middle of the yard. You're seeing that same larger shed at the end of the driveway and the neighbor to our right if you're looking at the house. Turning the page, I'm now standing behind the large shed, and you can see where an old pool used to be, and there's no vegetation and no soil there. And then if I turn to the right, taking a better shot and a closer shot of the small shed that's obviously dilapidated. And you see that square concrete footing of some sort. It's just debris that's part of the debris that's out in the backyard. And then finally, the last page, took a photo. This is in the buffer zone. The wetlands are beyond into the tree line. And it's hard to see in this photo, but you can see the white buckets, and there's a bunch of plastic and just junk that's out in there that we'd like to get in there and clean up. And then finally down on the bottom is just another shot of some of the lack of topsoil, and it's not a true lawn area out there, it's a mess. But that's what the existing conditions are, and I just wanted to kind of bring everyone up to speed. The dwelling that's gonna be removed, the existing house, is 46 feet wide at its widest point, about 31 feet deep. The new building will have slightly smaller footprint of 36 feet wide and 30 feet deep. The new building will consist of two two-bedroom dwelling units, each with newly paved driveways. Those driveways will be shorter than the existing driveway. We're not filling in or altering any wetlands, but the majority of the cleanup, however, will be, and the majority of the new building's footprint will be within the 100-foot wetlands buffer zone. However, we will not be extending the yard area beyond what presently exists. There'll be no structures built within the 50-foot no-build zone, and no disturbances within the 35-foot no-disturb zone. The existing house violates the zoning bylaws 35-foot front yard setback requirement in that it's actually over the front line. That house has to be torn down, and obviously we cannot build on the same foundation. You can't build on the street line. So we have to conform with current zoning bylaws. Per zoning, current zoning bylaws, a new building would typically have to be placed 35 feet back off of the street line. However, we've applied for a variance with the zoning board. And I only have a couple of these, but just for the record, I just wanted to send a copy of our zoning application, in which we have requested a,
Thank you.
is an extra copy? We've requested a 10-foot front yard setback, which would allow us to move the house a little bit further frontward and obviously further away from the wetlands and farther out of the wetlands buffer zone. To get the variance approved, however, we need to demonstrate a hardship exists, which does not allow us to place that new dwelling 35 feet back as you're typically required to under the zoning bylaw. So our submittal to the zoning board notes that the front yard setback variance of 10 feet would be justified in order to be able to pull the house forward and away from the wetlands as much as reasonably and practically possible, while still providing a reasonable building setback from the street. Thus, we're asking both the Conservation Commission and the zoning board to approve a foundation location which is 25 feet off the street instead of 35 feet off the street. And we're hoping that the Conservation Commission will support the submitted plan to build the house as far forward as reasonably obtainable and feasible, because our only other alternative is to submit a revised notice of intent, which would show the new dwelling complying with all zoning setbacks, and thus we'd have to comply and move the structure back 35 feet from the street, further into the wetland buffer, much closer to the wetlands and riverfront buffer lines. The submitted plans show that if the front yard setback variance is granted, and if our notice of intent is approved, the rear line of the new dwelling will line up with the front line of that existing large shed, just to give you a visual. And it's also shown on the plan. But in other words, both of the existing sheds and that existing square concrete footing that we just saw and the piles of debris are all located out behind where the new building would be located. And again, I just love photos. Just to give you another way to view this, this is an aerial photograph of the property, and I've superimposed where the foundation is proposed. And you'll see that our proposed building would be no further back than the neighbor to our right. Obviously, there's a house that's much further back to us that's to our left, but it gives us a 25-foot yard area in the front. That is also shown on the submitted plans, where it shows the existing foundation plus the proposed new foundation. Mr. Gosselin retained the services of Grady Consulting for the survey and the plan work and hired Brooke Monroe of Pine Brook Consulting to delineate the wetlands. Brooke will be speaking to you shortly, but for those of you who know her, she's known to be conservative with her flaggings and very experienced in the field of wetland science. She's been doing it for over 30 years. We scheduled a site walk on this past Monday at the property. It's my understanding that members Lynn Mullen and Gene Matiosis were able to attend, and they were joined, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, by Mr. Gosselin, Mr. Mirabito, and Ms. Monroe. After the site walk, member Lynn Mullen sent us an email, which we just received, with a list of requested information, including a request to submit an updated site plan with added and updated information. Grady Consulting was able to prepare an updated plan. We're happy to provide that to you tonight.
Excellent.
And this is it, right? Which I have on the board.
Excellent.
Each one get one of those, not enough room.
It's okay.
Oh, it's okay.
For now,
What's that?
for now.
Well, if we can share.
I might
Yeah, I
ask
have
you for
plenty
it
of
later.
copies.
Oh,
Give them all to Tony.
we're gonna share today.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, I got you.
It's okay.
Whoops, wait a minute. Wait.
Grady Consulting was able to prepare the updated plans. We're happy to provide it with you, to you tonight. One of the items requested was to extend the line of the riverfront buffer zone beyond our work area and onto the other parcels on the plan.
No, there's something wrong here.
During this update, Grady Consulting and Pine Brook Consulting reviewed the USGS map for this area once again. As the Conservation Commission may be aware, 310 CMR 10.58, Section 2, you don't have to know that, but it recites that the USGS maps create a presumption that any river or stream shown as being perennial on the USGS map is perennial, unless rebutted by evidence from competent sources. It also says perennial rivers are shown as a solid blue line on the USGS maps. Dotted blue lines are indicative that the river or stream is not perennial and is instead an intermittent stream. The Rivers Protection Act specifically 310 CMR 10.582 confirms that intermittent streams are not rivers and are not subject to the restrictions and protections of the Rivers Protection Act. Our review of the USGS map, in doing our update, confirmed that the stream nearest to the locust property is not perennial, but is instead intermittent. So that's shown and is updated on that plan. And I'm just handing out a copy of the USGS map. You'll see the difference between the solid blue line and the dotted blue line. The solid blue line,
Did I get a copy?
no, I'm sorry, Jean. There you go. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
So what I just handed out is the same copy of the same thing. I just blew it up on the top of the page, and it's smaller on the bottom. So you'll notice, if you're looking at the word Block Street, to the left of it, you see the dotted line that runs north-south on that plan, and then you see the solid blue line that runs kind of west towards that pond. The solid blue line is a perennial river.
Yep.
The dotted is a intermittent stream, so it's not a river.
Yep.
That is now shown on an updated plan. So it now pulls our building out of the River Protection Act, River Protection Zone.
No.
So we've updated the plan to show that updated riverfront buffer zone, and updated and corrected the location of the buffer zone according to this USGS information. In doing so, we're pleased to report that although construction of the new dwelling will still be in the 100-foot wetlands buffer, none of the construction will be within the Rivers Protection Act. There's only a small portion in the rear corner of the existing cleared yard that falls within the 200-foot riverfront buffer. That's where the small shed is and where that concrete thing is. Everything else is outside of the 200-foot riverfront area. No work or activities proposed or required within the 100-foot riverfront buffer. In fact, the only work proposed, as I just said, is within the 200-foot buffer is the proposed removal of the small dilapidated shed and the removal of the large concrete footing. I'm going to ask Brooke Monroe to come up and just give you a little summary background of how she delineated the wetlands, because now we're looking at the wetlands line and the wetlands buffer line. Brooke started her career, as I said, she's been doing this for 30 years. She started working back in 1983. She was working for the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, where she reviewed notices of intent and interpreted all the regulations that you guys do today. She did that for 3 or 4 years. Then she became an environmental scientist and worked for a firm in Lakeville with the preparation of environmental impact reports, water quality certifications, Army Corps of Engineers permits, MEPA filings, wetland delineation, replication plans. That was from 1986 to 1994. And from 1994 to present, she's been the chief owner of Pinebrook Consulting, where she's an environmental scientist and consultant. She, again, has been doing wetlands delineation for that entire time, consulting services for conservation commissions. She reviews wetland replication plans. She's actually part-time conservation agent in Carver. She served as the interim conservation agent in the town of Canton. There's more in her resume, but I wanted to highlight those. I know some of you are familiar with Brooke and her experience, but for some of the new members,
Go
I
back
wanted
30 years.
Right, so I wanted to introduce you to Brooke so you know her history and her long knowledge. I'm just going to submit a copy of her resume for the record. So if I could turn the microphone over to Brooke, and she can kind of explain what she saw out there as our environmental scientist, and we'll continue to move forward.
Good evening, Brooke Monroe, Pinebrook Consulting. When I went to the site in November, the river, the stream that comes in was flowing. So I hadn't really, looked at the USGS in detail and hadn't, done any stream stats or anything. So I delineated that as the river, that which is was the mean high water, the top of the bank of that river. So after talking to Brad, And we looked at the USGS and just saw that there's this kind of intermittent stream coming in, but it's hard to tell when you're up there on the bank and, you know, it's all flooded and everything's flowing. So anyway, so that was what I had done. So now we have this additional information, and I actually talked to Brad, and he said, well, looks like, you know, your delineation was probably too conservative as far as the riverfront goes. So, anyway, so that was the river. And then the wetlands, I don't know if well, you two out there, Jean and Lynn. The wetlands are, you know, pretty much up gradient of where I flagged the river. They follow from Rockland Street, they follow the top of a steep slope that drops off behind the houses there. Comes out, you know, a little bit into the yard with those two locations that we looked at. It's really the only flat area, then it heads back behind the property on the right, and I think one of the wetlands flags is on that person's fence. So there's a steep slope on kind of either side up above the river. And I did do, I don't have enough copies, but I did do a couple of soil samples that you wanted from the, it was flag 9 and 10 and 11. So I filled those. I didn't do the calculations for the vegetation, everything, because all the vegetation is upland vegetation, so there really was no point in doing, you know, calculations between what's wet and what's dry. So let's see, and then I did some soil samples, and, you know, it's pieces of glass and concrete and stuff that I had to dig through. But underneath everything, it was pretty much, you know, loam. I didn't encounter any water. Let's see.
Which flags were those again, please?
There were 9, we were actually looking at 9, 10, and 11. So that was that little section.
Okay.
So I did, let's see, where we have my glasses here.
We started over here, so
Yeah.
I'm looking for your flagging on here.
So I've got, yeah, let's see.
What one flag? I see 10, I see 9, I
have
see
the
8.
sheet for that. For that.
So I do have a question for you
Yeah.
though, Brooke.
Yeah,
All right. So your 200-foot riverfront
yeah,
from here to here. And I mean, you're talking mean high water mark here.
Right.
And I'm looking at it over here on this one. Again, please explain to me why the original plan was so much different than this one.
Because
It's,
it's an intermittent stream.
this is not intermittent, this is a
No, this
perennial.
isn't, right.
Right, so I'm saying her mean high water flagging is here, and I'm looking at it here, and yet the 200-foot riverfront mark changed, and now instead of the house being inside the 200-foot, it's now outside the 200-foot.
right.
So,
Well, because the stream has now, the river, what I was calling a river before, has now become an intermittent stream.
but
So we
your
don't have the
mean high
200.
water mark is over here on this stream right here, and this stream is a perennial stream based on this right here. This also happens to be the same stream that we had another applicant on where
Yeah.
DEP determined that was a perennial stream.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
I'm
but-
not understanding.
Gene, she's talking about,
I'm looking at the flagging over here that says mean high water.
no, I know, but you're talking about the other stream going and tying into another property that's classified as perennial.
that does happen.
Yeah, that, well, no, that's.
Yeah, I know
this
this
one
little
here.
one
That
going
line right
across.
there.
This one here is a perennial right here,
Right.
okay? And I understand that, and I understand that the intermittent one goes this way across the property, and
Right
this
here.
one goes here. Yeah, I know that. But I'm saying, if you look at the property on Rockland Street, okay, and she's got mean high water, her flagging over here, mean high water, is this the 200-foot buffer here from Rockland Street on this perennial stream, not the intermittent? The intermittent one is here, I understand that.
Right.
So how did that change so much from one plan to the original one that we were given?
Because originally, conservatively, we marked the intermittent stream as a river. as a
No,
perennial.
it has nothing to do with that. Her mean high water mark is based on this perennial stream right here.
Yeah.
It says mean high water.
Right.
So 200 feet from there, 200 feet, it's the same flag, correct? The flagging is the same.
I haven't changed the flag, but if the stream has now become intermittent, I never would have flagged it
It's
as
not
mean high
intermittent
water.
though, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
based on what DEP did for another applicant 2 years ago, that was considered a
Gene,
perennial.
Gene, you're,
Am I off?
I think you are. So
Okay.
the intermittent stream feeds into.
No, I know that,
perennial
but
stream
I'm just
that
looking
goes
at
to
her
that property.
flagging here.
So, okay.
That's where I'm not
What's the distance
understanding it.
from here to here?
Right,
Should be 200. Right? Are you pointing at the?
From here to here is the 200,
right.
which is outside the house.
Okay, so on here, the river was over here, here's the mean high water flagging.
right.
And how come it's over here now? And there's the house.
Brooke, are these flags are for the perennial,
Yes.
no,
I
these,
see your point. I do.
Pink ones?
no, the
You see what I'm talking
MHW.
about?
Those are for the-
So if this is the mean high
So
water here,
these flags have
Right.
nothing to
and
do
this
with
was
the perennial
200
stream.
feet here.
They're
Right.
just to
How
the
did it
stream that you
change?
thought
How
was
is
perennial.
this the
Yes.
mean high water there?
Yeah, I know,
And this is the
Yeah, it was what I thought was.
200
But now it's
And
outside
now it's
of it.
become intermittent.
Right.
That's what I'm asking.
from the
why-
same
But
point.
it's confusing, because
I
the
think-
lines
right.
do kind of, you know.
So we don't have, there's no flagging on here representing the perennial stream. These are representing the stream that is intermittent that they thought was perennial.
All right.
Right.
Do you wanna, all right.
Here, Gene, is that the first plan right there?
This is the first
That's the
plan, and
first
I'm going
plan.
by the same flagging.
Yep.
That's all. Here's the mean high water, and I'm looking at it, and here's the 200 foot, and here's the house inside, this corner right here in this patio. But yet on this plan, I'm going by the same flagging, and it's now the 200.
Because that's intermittent now.
Gene,
It's not,
well, no, I see what Gene is saying. And I
So
think-
this is not intermittent?
no,
This one?
it's
Correct,
not.
that's perennial.
Okay.
Correct.
So I see Gene's point. If we measure from here on this plan
Yep,
to here, you've got it 200 feet.
Well, no, because this, I believe, is being measured from that, what we thought was another perennial stream, which is not
Okay,
shown.
so
Yeah, but
that
her
was my
flag-
question. What is the measurement from here, from this
then why does
high
that
water
say
mark?
MH for mean high water? And it's based on the stream that was over here.
No, it's not completely. It was based on both streams.
Okay, well, I'm looking at the property on Rockland Street here, and it's the same Rockland Street property there, so that's
No,
my
here,
confusion.
here.
Oh, sorry,
What I'm trying to say is,
okay,
if I can pull your mic down for a second.
sure,
I think what we're seeing, and I'm looking at this upside down,
oh, sure.
but at that, in the initial plan, we had two perennial streams.
No,
Right.
you had an intermittent, because in her summary from November, you said that this was an intermittent, and there was a river over here.
But we flagged it, we treated it as two perennial streams, that this, this stream going behind the houses, we showed as perennial.
Okay.
And showed the 200-foot setback off of that.
Okay,
When we updated the plan and we were gonna, and you asked us to extend it, we went
Yep.
back to USGS and said, let's confirm this, and USGS said, no, this one's not perennial, erase it, basically. And now that 200-foot buffer shifts to only the remaining perennial portion of the stream, which is far closer to Rockland.
Well, that's what I mean. Where's the, what's the measurement from here to here?
It should be 200.
Now, 20 scale.
I'm not a surveyor, but that's
okay.
what it's marked as.
Okay, resource manager, respectively, perennial stream,
What she's saying is,
located on the westerly side, which was there, and the stream which flows under Rockland Street is defined on the slope of the bank, yep, point, yep. Upgrading of the river, yep.
So I think Gene's point is, are we measuring on both plans from here?
not, on the new plan, you're measuring from the perennial stream. On the
And-
prior plan, you were measuring,
Assuming this was a
Both.
perennials.
yes,
swing.
right,
Okay.
right.
So,
But yet, there was nothing here that said mean high water where they suspected that was a.
but that's where they measured off of.
Okay, because over here is the only where it says mean high water as far as the flagging goes. I don't see it, I don't see mean high water flagged on that.
Yeah, so
Intermittent.
if you go from the mean high
Yep.
water, it's 200 feet is outside of the house.
Okay. What about this one here? Same
That
thing.
200 feet was measured from the perennial stream. The reason is the intermittent stream isn't subject to the river
Right, right,
regulations.
right, right.
And I understand
We
that.
get that. It was just that her question was, where was the measurement taken from that pulled it away from the house? That's the question, right?
No, I
It's taken there
understand.
at flag 6.
Yeah,
Which is where the intermediate stream
right.
enters the perennial stream.
And there's flag 6,
So
there's 7.
So there's your 100-foot,
Yep.
and there's your 200.
Yep.
Okay. So show me on here where it is then,
So,
because there's 6, there's 7. Okay,
so the 100 is going right through here.
but it's not on here though. but
No,
okay.
because this is an old one.
Right,
And then your 200 is running right through this corner right here.
okay.
See, right here.
Yep,
Through
yep.
that corner? Okay, so measuring from the mean high water, that's where the 200 is right here.
Okay, so,
I understand the confusion,
yeah,
but,
it's like,
but
it's
this
not
is
making-
where we're measuring from.
Okay,
Right, that's
Yeah.
the perennial brook.
Right.
It's just subject to river.
and this was the one that we had asked that you put on this plan because there was no,
Yes, you asked for this one. and-
right,
Yeah,
right,
so,
right.
yeah, so that's, yeah.
Gotcha.
And the
Yeah,
intermediate
and I
Okay.
think
stream as
that's the
well.
other day when we were out there, you had said.
Well, yeah, and he kept saying he didn't understand why it had to be on there. I'm like, well,
Right.
how do we know where,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
saying mean
So
high water
that's on
flag,
here
and how do we
now.
know where it is?
So that's on here now, and there's your,
And this is the intermittent.
there's
brook.
your, yeah, and there's your 100, I mean 200, and there's your 100. So I get it now, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
When you
1, 2,
did,
3 people.
so-
Well, I mean, it didn't make any sense to me before because I'm looking at this and I'm saying, how did all of a sudden it go from one area to another? But now that they put the stream on,
Right.
Brooke, when you did the mean annual high
it's
water,
beyond confusing.
what did you use for that? Like, did you use soil? Did you use the slope?
No, just top of the bank.
Okay, just
Yeah.
top of the bank.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, top of the bank.
Absolutely.
It made
Because
no
one
sense.
thing that I was talking to somebody at DEP about this, and she was mentioning how, for the mean annual high water mark,
Yeah.
you wanna take soil samples, you wanna look at vegetation, because the bank may not actually be correlated with the mean annual
Right.
high water mark.
Right, and this,
So,
okay,
so
go ahead.
my question is, did you look at vegetation, soils? Do you have pictures?
I don't, in this case, the bank, where I followed the bank, it was very well defined. In areas where you know, in a river where you kind of lose the bank, would be what she was referring to. So the only spot that happened in, and I followed it up, was this funny-looking little point right there. In other words, I was following.
The intermittent's here.
Yeah, but when I was flagging it, I was following, oh, I'm sorry, where's my river flags? Okay, yeah, let's see,
Do you want to turn it around?
Right here,
Okay.
right here.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, so so I was following the bank. The only place where it flooded was in the vicinity of, I think I mentioned in my report, was 5 and 6, and it was an area that, spread out beyond the bank. So I flagged that as being riverfront, as opposed to top of the bank. But, I mean, typically you don't do soils, soils and vegetation thing are really more for BVWs and not
Yeah,
really riverfront.
When she told me that, I was surprised. I've never
Yeah.
dealt with that.
Yeah,
But
the
she said,
riverfront regs do say, where you see a change in vegetation, you end up more
Yeah.
like, cattails as opposed to the shrubs and things
Right.
like that. But in this case, it was very well defined, most of it was.
yeah.
but,
I mean, what she had been saying though is sometimes the actual mean annual high water line is actually not correlated with that. It
Yeah.
might be shifted over.
Yeah,
And so soils are the way that you can actually, vegetation and soils and slope
Yeah.
are the three things that you should be looking
yeah,
for.
yeah,
So otherwise, we would need to see pictures from every flag and
yeah.
that sort of
Unless you want to
thing.
go walk it. I wanted to do that yesterday because
I didn't
if we
have,
start like
I didn't
rock-
have my
if we start-
boots
yeah,
on.
we put your boots
And we
on.
would need an auger.
If we, yeah.
We
And
definitely
I
need to
did
have an
come back with
auger.
myself when I did these samples, but
Okay.
we could, if we start at Rockland Street, it's easy to get in that way, and then we can
Yep.
kind of crawl around and get in there.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
want to.
yeah.
If
Because
you
that was
feel like you
another
need to do
thing.
it. Then you could see kind of what it involves.
Right. I mean, another thing that popped up when we were at the site walk is as you get closer to the tree line, it felt spongy.
Yeah.
It was kind of hard
Yeah.
to
And that's where I
describe.
did those data sheets, and so I did the soils there.
These are,
Yeah,
okay.
and all the vegetation there is pretty much uplands, privet, there's vinca, periwinkle, there's garlic mustard, multiflora rose. There's no wetland vegetation, so when I did the soils, where I could
Yeah.
get in through all the trash and stuff,
What
there
was
was nothing that indicated any.
But in that lawn area that we were walking on, oh yeah, sorry.
Is that the soil analysis? What was the depth on that?
I'll send it to. So it wasn't the actual, like the vegetation,
Thank you.
it was actually on the edge of the.
Right.
The lawn, where it was lawn.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
And that's where I felt it was just like walking on a sponge
Yeah.
all of a sudden.
Yeah,
it
and
was
that's where I
really
did
weird.
the samples.
Okay,
Yeah.
you did take the
Yeah.
samples there, all
Yeah.
right. Oh, you took my stuff.
Good here. You're gonna go
And how far did you go down?
18 inches?
18.
The first, when I get like 15
It says,
and 20.
I'm just looking at your profile, and it says 12 to 18. You said it was loam and fill material.
Yeah,
So we don't know what was beyond that. It was just, I mean, obviously, you can tell the yard was
yeah.
filled in.
And, yeah, and there were no other hydrological indicators, so, I didn't hit encounter any water or anything like that, so
So,
it was,
but it had been filled.
well,
long
there's a lot
time
of stuff going on. Yeah, it was full of pieces of glass and, concrete and metal pieces and things like that, so, yeah, was filled
Because
previously.
one of the things is that fill grass is not considered to be degradation in the
Right.
River Protection Act, but fill is.
Right.
Considered to be degraded.
Yeah.
Degraded.
And that would be something, we talked about this, would be part of the restoration, Steve's not gonna leave it like that, he's not gonna leave all the trash there to, he's not gonna be able to sell your, trash all over the place. So obviously, that would all be cleaned up, and that's, under the riverfront regs, that's also considered restoration. The removal of debris, another one is the reduction of runoff, where you're putting the runoff towards the street, right, with the driveways, yep. So,
But it's also supposed to be helping with the ecological, basically improving the
Yeah.
ability for the riverfront to
Yeah.
act like it should if
Yeah.
nothing was there.
Yeah.
So
And
getting
honestly,
rid
I-
of debris is great, but.
right, but I think
what
if you
other-
remove that debris, and you just get rid of all that, I really think all the vegetation from the adjacent wetland is gonna fill in by itself, it's naturally.
So,
Right.
so when we were out there and the stake with the white tags on it, the end of, what did it say? I can't remember what the work site?
The stake with the white tags was the corner of the building, right?
No,
The
I said,
stake-
was it, what was the one closest before we hit all the briars and everything? The end of work, or?
The limit of work? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the white stake.
Yeah, so, I mean, all that debris is coming out. I wasn't sure what you were,
It's yeah.
I think the plan shows all.
because the pictures that you showed, I mean, I know that some of the plastic debris and stuff was beyond that stake, wasn't it?
We're proposing.
Oh, yeah, it was way out there.
Yeah,
There was like, it wasn't a sink, but it was a shiny metallic
yeah, I don't know what that was.
thing.
Yeah,
We're proposing to put a silt sock along the tree line, basically, at the extent of what's currently cleared, right? And Mr. Gosselin will be basically cleaning the property up by removing, as I said, all the structures, all the existing pavement, concrete. There's that little shed that's out in the woods, we would pull out. There's a photo, and I don't know if it's the same thing you were just talking about, but there's stuff like out in the underbrush.
Yep.
that- Yeah, so we would physically walk out there and just pull that stuff, it's trash, basically, either blew out there, was thrown out there, stored out there. So what we're trying to do is clean up the entire wetland area, the buffer area, and by removing some of the hardscape and the old structures and letting, having loam put in there, grass, whatever, natural growth, that's going to be better than what is there now. It's going to let groundwater basically be absorbed into the ground. It's going to be better just to clean the area. The topography would be kind of smoothed out. Right now, it is, for those of you who walked out there, it's chunky. It's a debris field, really. So
So the lawn would be graded,
no, it's essentially a flat back lawn.
well, I'm just looking, yeah, it goes
Mostly
from
flat.
120.
It's a tiny slope.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a little
Tiny
teeny, it
slope.
goes from 122 to 121.
There would be some slopage from the foundation, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
required by the building code, so water would flow away.
Yep.
Everything out in the front of the yard would flow towards the front now. As you saw, there's no real control over stormwater right now. There are no stormwater management standards that apply to a 1 or 2 family house in a DEP, so it's basically putting in lawn is going to enhance the environmental quality of the property, not only for this property, but for the adjacent neighbors.
Well,
I know when we were on the site walk out there, Mr. Goslin had said that there were a few trees. I believe you said they were they're chestnut trees, because you had a chestnut. They were gonna be removed, and those, I think, fall right into the 200-foot riverfront. So, I don't remember what our tree regs are as far as that goes.
yeah, so if that would kind of fall into the limit of work. So one of the things that people don't tend to either understand is that with the river protection, any work that's performed is considered to be disturbance. So cutting down the tree, I noticed the limit of work was right along, it is actually in the 200 foot. So that would not be kosher with the act. So,
Unless you allow it, because I think we're talking, some of those are dead. The trees are just.
well,
they're a
even
threat.
dead trees can act
Oh, I know.
ecologically,
Habitat,
right?
yeah.
So if it's, we have in our regs, if it's a certain size, then you
Yep.
have to plant
stacks.
something else in its place.
Right.
And dead trees are only supposed to be removed if they are like a hazard.
Mhm.
If they're gonna fall on your house, then yes, we get rid of them, but you have to replace in some instance. But in terms of the limit of work, that would then start to be a situation where you are working within riverfront. And so my suggestion is to try to keep the work outside of the riverfront.
Well, that's where we wanted to ask you, the board.
Yeah.
We want to clean up the property to the fullest extent possible, especially in the areas that are already disturbed, the yard area that's shown on the plan. Part of it, the last 20 feet of it, in the back left corner, is technically in the riverfront 200-foot zone. We would like to go in there, like I said, remove the shed that's shown, remove the concrete, and basically put in clean soil. If you don't want us to do that, tell us. We'll leave it as is. I don't think that's a benefit to the environment. I think everyone would agree that what we're proposing is a good thing and is an improvement to the existing conditions out there. But we need to do that through an order of conditions. We need an order of conditions regardless because we're in the 100-foot buffer zone, the wetlands buffer zone. Segregates, put the riverfront aside. We need the order conditions for the 100-foot buffer zone to do any activity within 100 feet, as you're aware. As I mentioned earlier, we're outside the 50-foot no-build zone. So it's a typical home construction with a silt sock, under an order of conditions, put in your loam and seed, get your certificate of compliance, file the as-built plan and all. If you feel there's some need to have additional restrictions and to treat that differently, that's your prerogative. I would suggest you don't, and that we keep it as a unified yard area and clean it up all to the same extent.
Well, I don't think it's just our prerogative. I think that's the way it's written by DEP. That's a 200-foot riverfront protection area. So I just want to clarify, it's not something we're talking about. It's something that we have to, we as commissioners.
But we can go into the 200 feet if we can demonstrate that there's an improvement to the area. And what I'm saying to you is we think it's an improvement to go clean it up.
To
And so
clean
you
it up
can
and pick
approve
up
that.
plastic barrels and stuff, absolutely, and remove the sheds, absolutely.
yeah.
But when you talk about cutting down trees and such, I mean,
Oh,
then
no.
you're talking about something different.
No, the tree's a
No,
different
but to
situation.
remove the shed, the concrete.
No, and
yeah,
I get that, but I'm
right.
just saying, there were a couple of trees that are
Right,
kind of
yeah.
questionable that we did discuss, that, you know, they looked like they were kind of tough, they were,
Yeah.
need to come down, but they are in the riverfront. That's all I'm pointing out.
Yeah.
So when you remove a tree from a riverfront, you just try to not to, you're trying not to impact it negatively.
Right.
So whatever you do affect it negatively, it has to have replacement of some sort.
If you,
Do I
But
s-
is Mr. Goslin willing to replace that, given that there's gonna be work on the site now? And if that tree or those trees are in such a shape that if they fall, it's gonna create more of a problem,
And they're gonna
as
have to
well
come
as they're
back
gonna
here.
now have to go back there and deal with it, it's gonna create more of a hazard for
And
the
I'm not saying that, I'm
environment.
saying whatever is taken out of there has to be replaced.
I think,
And
is
I
it a,
think,
is
Per
it
our
3 to
tree
1?
regs.
talk to
Yeah,
them and
and
make
make
it
it
part
part
of
of the tree regs.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but it depends on the size of the tree.
Yeah.
Those
If
I think
it's
it
actually
over
was
are
5
6 inches or
inches,
whatever,
I think it
5
was
inches.
5 inches.
5 inches.
And it's-
Yeah.
You have to do, I
Don't
don't,
quote me,
to
but it's
one. I
like
thought
for
it
every
was-
3 we cut down, we replace 1, something like that?
I think it's 2 to 1.
sometimes it's 3 to 1.
Yeah, it's a
And
convoluted
sometimes you
bylaw.
can, instead of having like 3 trees, you can actually have like, I don't know,
Bushes.
6 bushes or,
Yeah,
you know,
like,
something
like,
like
What
that.
I
I
might
think Brooke
suggest-
said, I think when we were out there, Brooke had mentioned about high bush blueberries and some other,
Yeah,
vegetation that's comparable and would
Right.
get along with wetland areas. I mean, but
Yep.
I wouldn't speak on it that day because I'm just out there to look. I can't really comment
yeah,
on it, but.
and we're not looking to excavate and dig and plant
and I
new things in
understand
that
that.
area, because we're not supposed to, but to clean it up is a good thing. Perhaps there could be, you know, if you want to put a condition on that, no trees will be removed from that area unless someone from the Conservation Commission comes out and gives us. the
No, but I
approval.
mean, the ones that we had pointed out, and
Yeah.
I mean, they do look like they're pretty bad, and that, obviously, but I'm
But
just
we
saying.
don't
they're-
know, right? Because
we
it's
don't know.
March. So it's
Right.
hard to say what's good, what's bad. There's no leaves on the trees right now.
Yeah. But-
So,
But
I-
even if, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh no.
if the
In
weather
term-
keeps going the way it's going, we're gonna have them real soon.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
So,
I'm trying to see
I
if
understand
can
what you're
find
saying
it.
about,
Okay, I'll picture of it.
you know, do we want to make the improvement
That's what
to
I
the
was
limit
looking
of
at. I'll show
work
you,
and
yeah.
everything?
No, he doesn't have them.
One thing that we don't want to do is add more lawn.
Yes, there was,
Because River Protection
They're
Act
pretty
talks
big,
about
too.
how
They're big
you
fucking
can't have any
chestnut
lawn
Extension. But
extension.
we can replace existing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
There's some
yeah.
here
If this
that
is
were
lawn,
kind of-
poor quality,
Right.
but as I said, we
There
are
was-
not in,
There was-
we are not
you can't
proposing
really see
to
'em
cut
here,
into
but
the
there was
existing
some
tree
that
line.
were really bad in
We're
here.
trying to basically
But it was over
renovate
here on this
the
side
existing
that you
area,
can't see.
clean it up. And
Yeah,
you
those
can't
look
plant
pretty
anything there
sad
until you
right
clean
there.
it up.
Those are pretty
Mitigate the
broken.
mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without
Which,
doing
again, not
harm
only
to
does
the
it look
riverfront,
better,
right.
but it works better environmentally because now the water doesn't hit hard pan and sheet off. It now gets absorbed into the groundwater. It helps, you know, with pollution, it helps groundwater, all that stuff. So it is an improvement to do that. But that's why we're having a hearing, is to figure out the extent that you'd like us to do things and the extent you want to tell us, don't touch that. We would suggest.
So where on that, are those trees we're talking about?
This,
Yeah. I was
no,
just saying, if you
I
look
didn't see them in the photograph. It was more,
at Page 3, is it?
no,
Page 2. Yeah, if you look
No.
at page 2 of my lovely photo. handout.
It's kind of in the middle. of the
no, they were
back there.
actually further over on the, if you were facing the house, they were more to the left side of the house, and they're not on here.
Okay.
That concrete slab next to the shed, do we know what that is?
No idea. Steve, you don't know what that,
Could it be some sort of tank or anything? You'd know better than me or Gene or Lynn.
No, it looked like there was, like you said, 4x4 posts, like it must have been some sort of outhouse or shed or
Okay.
something.
yeah,
It was the weirdest thing.
No, just looking at the photo, it looks like there's like 4, on the corners, like 4 spots to pick it up, but
No, those
Could
were
just be
actually
debris.
wooden posts, like you sink them in and,
Yeah.
a deck for the pool?
Yeah, we
No,
discussed
the
that.
pool's on the
Nobody knew
opposite
what it was
side.
for.
Basketball.
no, too small, too big.
It's like too small to be a shed
Yeah.
floor, but it's too
Yeah.
big to be, you know, a light pole or something. I don't know what it is.
Radio tower.
Yeah. Look at this one. Look at this going across. That's kind of weird. But that's on the neighbor's property.
And there are a few neighbors here with us tonight, and just so the neighbors are aware, you probably already got a notice that we're having a zoning hearing on Thursday night. It's the exact same plan, but we have to ask the zoning board to approve the location of the building, and that it be a two-family as opposed to the one-family that's allowed.
I think we need to have them look at it when.
So you'll hear a lot of
when it comes in
repeating the
that
same
side,
thing on
because we
Thursday.
just can't assume that these edges is no leaves on them. I mean, I've seen Chestnut Street trees that are pretty
Yeah.
beat up, but they're, I don't know. We'll see. Thanks for letting me use your
So
pictures.
maybe,
Mr. Chairman, do you want to hear from the neighbors? I don't know if. you have any-
I'm not sure if we're done. Are we done?
No.
So,
We're not
I'm just
talking yet.
thinking, if we agree to approve it, is it worth approving it now, or should we wait until you basically say, you know, we're happy with this, everything here, but should we wait until you guys go to zoning in case they come back and say the 25-foot's no good, then you gotta shift it back, and then,
No, I think it is a better situation if we go to the zoning board saying that the Conservation Commission has approved this because you have an interest in moving the house forward.
right.
We need to show it's a hardship, because we could come into you with a plan right now with the house moved back and say it complies with zoning, that's where we have to put it, and we're now closer to all the wetlands and all that. Bad all around. Moving the house forward is a better design, it's more in keeping with the neighborhood, and it gives us a little front yard there, which
Yep.
doesn't exist at all right now.
I mean, there's no doubt that it's a pretty,
Yeah.
it'll be a much prettier look, there's no question about that, again, but we were here just concerned about the conservation part and the
Sure.
200-foot buffer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be a 100% improvement over whatever.
Right.
But there were some concerns here as far
Oh,
as
yeah.
working in a riverfront area.
Oh,
so I think
it would help us if it was
I'm not gonna speak for everyone,
approved.
but I think that really the only question we have now are those trees that are at the 200-foot.
So
And
can we
the
move
limit
forward
of
with a
work.
condition that we go out and evaluate the trees?
I'm
And
sorry.
the, and the
make that
limit
for a
of,
notice of intent?
well, and the limit of, so it's the trees, and we have a little corner where there's a limit of work within the 200-foot.
Not on the new plan, he's outside of it now.
No, it's still
No,
there.
it's
No.
still
Oh, is
there.
it? I
Yeah.
didn't even
It
notice
doesn't
that.
cut through where there's a patio and house, but
There's no
there's still.
building, but there's
Oh.
lawn.
Where that
And the
concrete slab
ugly,
is.
the slab and the shed.
Yeah,
And yeah, absolutely, that's ugly.
it is
Right.
ugly.
It needs to go. So the question is, you can't have additional work closer or within the riverfront. And I know your idea is to make it better. The question is, how are you gonna
My-
make it better? Because we don't want lawn to be within
Well,
riverfront.
the regulations say you can't extend the lawn, right? I'm saying we're not extending the lawn. We're renovating the lawn. I mean, it's hard to define it as lawn right now, but that's what it is. It's a cleared area where grass is or was. So we're not violating it by extending the lawn, because we're not cutting into the tree line. We're just asking for,
You're just cleaning up the
You wanna improve it.
existing and putting new.
which is the exact same thing we're asking under the wetlands bylaw, because we're putting a lawn in within 100 feet. So in my mind, it's the same thing, it just triggers review by you guys. So you can allow that, as long as you issue it and say, order condition, we can put in lawn area in the limit of work shown on the plan, period.
Improve the existing footprint.
Yeah.
Without bothering the 200-foot
Basically,
riverfront.
approve the plan as submitted.
So I have another question with, for Brooke. So when we were there yesterday and in that area, we were walking along the limit of work here.
Yeah.
We noticed this one area that was like just full of water. Jean,
When we look down,
it was over,
in the
like if we're facing,
I think it was the
away
first
from the
flag, we
house,
went
it
out
was
and
over on
looked,
this side.
and there was that huge pool of water
Yeah.
with the big giant rocks in there with all the water marks on it.
yeah,
So if, it may not be a certified vernal pool, but in Abington, it only has to be a potential
yeah.
vernal pool. And I'm just curious. I mean, I'm sure.
I mean,
Vernal pool only has to hold water for breeding and that's
Right.
it. It can be dry after that, so, I mean.
right. I mean, I don't think.
It's
it
too
would-
early to really
Yeah.
tell because they're not there yet.
Yeah.
I mean, salamanders and stuff are just emerging.
Right.
They'll be coming in soon.
I mean, to me,
Keepers-
it doesn't have the characteristics of a vernal pool. I think it really was just part of that whole flooded area. If we walked through
Yeah,
there, that
yeah.
entire area would be full of water. I don't know where the extent of a vernal pool would be, because the whole area is flooded. You know, we're below where my flag is.
You know, and if I could add for the record, I wasn't here last week, but I'm told by my compatriots that it rained an awful lot last week.
And I understand, and that's why I mentioned that on the
Right.
rocks that are out there, there are watermarks out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not just occasionally, I mean, there has been water in there
Yeah.
at some periods of time, and it goes up and down. I
No doubt,
understand
no
that,
doubt.
Yeah.
yeah.
But just for the record, it did rain
Right.
during the week before.
Oh, I know, we were just at another site where it was completely dry, so I mean,
But
yeah,
it's just important for us to establish that for the
Sure.
record, so that
Thank
we
you.
know that we're walking into wet conditions.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see, I mean, this is not the vernal pool time of year.
Right.
We'd have to wait till April,
Yeah,
May
yeah.
to do it. But did you see any other indicators of hydrology that would mark that?
I didn't know, and, I mean, usually, you know, if I see vernal pools, there's just a kind of look to them. And typically, they're a little more, you know, like more of a confined kind of basin. But like I say, if we had kept walking out there, that whole area where we saw the ponded water would be all the way to the river. You know what I mean? The entire wetland is flooded. So I don't know where the extent of a vernal pool would be.
Okay,
Yeah, I wouldn't have called it a vernal pool, but,
okay. I was just curious. I
Yeah.
didn't get close enough to
Yeah,
see, but
yeah.
that was my.
if you had your boots on, we could have gone out there.
I would have, I would have gone out there with you.
I was the wind. I don't want to get in those brambles.
I don't care, I go through brambles, so I don't care. Yeah, that's my concern, that it could be a potential, only because of, again, I looked at the watermarks, I was looking at the leaf litter out there, and it was flat and black and not, I
Yeah.
mean, so obviously that's a sign of a continuous wet situation.
Right, an area that floods.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
periodically, yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that vernal pools only need time for them to breed, and then they're off
Right.
and running on their own.
Yeah.
And where you
that-
have the upper portion of the northern part of that where Lot 3 was, that's
Yeah.
all the wetland that feeds right
Yeah.
into it as well. That's
Right.
why you have your intermittent stream, which
Yeah.
shows the hydrology, which goes over to
Yeah.
the perennial.
And that wetland is, you know, very wet because it's got all the properties, you know,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
alongside
yeah,
of it,
and
all
and
upgraded.
all the more
everything.
reason for
Yeah,
me
it
to
gets all the
question.
runoff from the upgraded
Right,
properties
because
too.
your intermittent goes right over to the
Right,
perennial right there.
Right.
So that was my concern.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions before I open it up to the public? No. All right, anybody in the audience want to get up and speak? Have any questions? Just get up to the podium and name and address, please.
Hello, Kathleen Callahan, 89 Block Street. So I'm that house that's set way back.
Yep.
So those trees are along my property line, so I would want to know what's going on with those because they do provide some privacy as well because they are green in the summer.
I think the trees that we were talking about were closer to the existing
Yeah,
house.
the trees
Oh,
near your house
so the picture
would
on
not
page
be-
2 that they were referring to shows my house with the
Right.
big
Oh,
trees.
yeah, I don't think they
Those
were
aren't
doing
gonna be
anything.
touched.
From your property line, they wouldn't be able to cut anything
No,
within
nothing.
40 feet of your property line.
Okay. So
That's
the
the
other
closest
thing
spot.
I wanted to bring up is, so I've lived in that home for 13 years. This was the first year that I had a completely flooded basement.
Yeah,
So there was no water
Yeah.
in my backyard. It was coming up,
the water table.
exactly. So
Right.
I have concerns with a house coming up without, just water being draining into my area because I had significant damage last month. And also, when he mentioned that there would be 2 driveways, I've been there 13 years, and I have not been able to get a driveway approved. And so I would be really curious as to how he would get 2, and I can't have 1.
I think
So-
that's something that
That's a
planning.
zoning issue.
Yeah,
zoning.
right, which they keep telling me to come to you and
Oh,
then back and forth.
okay.
And so for So 13 years. But anyway, so I just think I definitely, it's so nice not to have police with guns drawn going through my yard to get to that house now. And so I'm really happy that something would be done to improve that lot, but I really,
Right.
I need some reassurance that this is not, that it's going to be graded properly, because after what I just went through last month.
I think if they do the grass and loam it like they want to do, I think it will absorb water
Well, I
better
know
than
I
it
had
is.
to do the underground
Yeah,
gutters for that same purpose. My gutters are underground, they drain out onto the street, under the street. So I would think that that would be something as well in that area. But just wanted that noted.
Are
Thank
you
you.
guys
So
changing
your
the grades
drain-
at all, or is everything still sloping away from your property out to the wetlands?
What was minimal?
it's 2 feet, isn't it?
Yeah.
For those who don't know who Steve Goslin is, he's been in town for a long time building, he's a very reputable builder, and the best thing about it is his wife is a landscape architect, so he always has nice-looking projects. He actually owns and built the project right around the corner of Block Street on Bedford Street. I forget the address, that's 154, has a stone up there. My mother lives in one of his places on the corner of North Ave. He owns a lot of property, and it's quality construction, but if you have any questions, his name is Steve. He'll be on site doing that. Under the building code, correct me if I'm wrong, the builders in the house, they're required to make sure that the foundation is at least 2 feet above estimated groundwater table, right? And then, like any house, there'll be a grading away from the foundations for rainwater. And the-
After getting the amount of water that
Yeah.
I got, it's very concerning. Yeah.
What we were saying earlier, what might
Yeah,
help
I
is
she's
by
right.
putting in a new
Riverfront.
lawn, it becomes more of a
Her
surprise
house
than what's
here
out there now.
in the
Where it
200-foot
just
riverfront,
is
so
rock
she's
solid,
getting.
and it starts flowing to other people. So this will slow down water.
Yeah,
and slow water.
the,
Do you have a question for me, just had to ask me?
Yeah.
Jeannie, you all set?
Jean,
Sorry.
do you have a question?
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
had started to ask me a question. and it came up anyway.
I got sidetracked,
Okay,
I'm
that's
sorry,
fine.
I'm sorry. So your water, I'm sorry, Mrs. Callahan. I did have one other question, and did you just notice it after the huge amounts of rain that we were having, that it's just seeping into your basement, or
Well,
Yeah.
I got up that morning. and-
2 inches, 3 inches?
Oh, I had about.
Ooh, a foot?
Like almost 10 inches.
Aye.
And when I opened up my cellar door, it was just a pool. And
Oh.
But my yard slopes in towards the house.
Yep,
But my yard was dry, it was just coming up from,
yep, underneath,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if there's any flooding in that area, his property would get it before it gets
Yeah.
to
she's
you.
at
Yeah.
123,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 123, 122, 121.
Bill Mullen, 25 Block Street, no relation. I'm not 100% sold on the project, but I do know the work Steve does, and he does really good work. I do abut him on the Bedford Street property. He's always been good to work with, and he's always done good work, so we'll see what zoning says, but so far, I think it's an okay project.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, I will bring it back to the board for more discussion. If there is none, I will take a motion.
So I think I'm good with everything except concerned about the trees that you mentioned. So if we approve this, how do we address that? If they decide they need to take the trees down, are we gonna make them come back, or is it gonna be in the orders? or-
Could probably do something in the orders, no?
We could say, if you have to take the tree down in the order, they should send us a plan,
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
and we can look it over and make a decision.
We could amend it that way.
And that'll give us time to go look at them and evaluate them
Yeah,
as we
because
close to
you're a
the-
couple of months anyway.
And
So
if
you would
they-
know in a couple of months if you're
You're
gonna,
gonna come out to
before
the
you.
site and check, take a look.
Yeah, and then you could say, okay, you need to do, look at her
Right.
regs, which I didn't
But
recognize, and then
my point is,
say-
I don't think we should hold it up just for those
Yeah.
trees.
Right.
You know, if he needs to come back, I mean, have you applied to zoning?
Yeah, it would be, the hearing's 2 nights from now.
Okay.
Thursday.
So,
Excuse me.
the appeal, if it's approved in the appeal period, you're gonna be close to May,
End of May.
end of May before.
Where are we?
Well, yeah.
End of April.
End of April into May before
So
he's
they're in
applying
time
for a
for
permit anyway.
Yeah.
So by then, before he starts construction, we would know if he needs to take those trees down.
Yeah, and then we could
We
Yeah.
could amend the orders at that
amend it and
point.
then give us some sort of plan to say,
Yeah.
this is the type of trees, these are the
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
based on that.
We had to work with it. We
Yeah,
want
Yeah.
to approve this, so
Yep.
that's fine.
Because,
so we would assume that the trees are staying, and if you have to do something else, then we would amend it.
Yeah, if something has to be removed because of construction in the area, or because we consider it to be dead or a danger.
Right.
We need to get your okay.
well, the danger, if it's dead,
Even dead trees.
Yeah, but
they
even,
can,
dead-
Yeah,
but if
it's
it's
one
a
that's
danger.
could fall on the house.
Right, if
Right.
it's
That's
dead
danger.
and a danger,
Yeah, but
not dead
if
or
it was an
danger.
emergency, we'd tell them to keep the stump, and then
Right.
they're not gonna wanna keep the stump
Right.
in there,
Yeah,
so.
so why don't we
And
do
this
that?
only
just-
applies to the trees that are within the 200-foot riverfront buffer.
Right,
Correct.
exactly. Right.
No, it's everything with 100 foot,
Anything- Yeah, because.
Within
because of the-
riverfront
yeah, 'cause you have
and
the
100
wetlands.
feet.
Yeah,
That's fine, because there's
Yeah.
not that many trees. out
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
yeah,
Right.
so we could do that and then.
So we could do it and amend it if we need to afterwards, before, and it, like I said, it would be before he even pulls a permit.
Yeah, or authorize a member of the
We're just gonna-
commission to come up to the site and give us the thumbs up,
Like-
thumbs down, however you want to play it.
Dentist.
If you want us to come back and amend, we
I would
I'd
come
come back
back
and
to amend,
amend.
if need be,
Okay.
we'll amend it. But that won't stop you from getting your building permit either, you know? I mean, you could still apply for that. If at that point you say that these trees need to come down, then we would amend the orders at that point.
It'll give the trees a chance to see how they,
That's my point,
if they
yeah.
do any
Yeah.
good. Also, it'll be vernal pool season too.
it's the,
Do
whatever
we
the
want to
tree.
have
Do it-
them check out whether that is a vernal pool as part of the order of conditions?
But do we even
I
need
don't
to
think
have
it
them amend it
really-
if it's trees, it's minor? Why couldn't one of us or two of us go out there and say, okay, this, we're gonna cut this tree down, we're gonna follow your regulations and plant a tree here, here, and
I'd
here?
just as soon rather amend it. I'd just,
Why? You can,
You can make it part of the order, so you're not amending the order, you're putting it as a condition of the order, that if a tree is to
If
come
a tree
down.
has to come down, he has to submit a
Yeah.
plan.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just do it that way, yeah.
And, yeah, it must be approved by a member or the
Yeah.
board, whatever you want to do.
Go out and put eyes on it.
And then three of us could go out there and
Mm-hmm.
do a walk and.
Yeah, say a majority of the board goes out, whatever, maybe that's better.
Whatever we get.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
At least 2 members shall visit or whatever.
Anybody have anything else? Somebody like to make a motion?
And we got the DEP number, right?
I think we do. I think I wrote it down somewhere. I don't remember where I put it.
Let's see. I make a motion to approve 85 Block Street, is that what?
75.
75 Block Street, SE 084-0572,
Second.
subject to the order of conditions.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. We'll write up the order of conditions after we get through everything else, which I think we only got left to discuss
I
is
lost my
correspondence.
agenda.
Actually, no, we did everything.
Oh, jeez.
Everything else.
Where'd it
All right.
go? Oh, there it is. I got it.
So do the order of conditions now.
All right. Too many papers.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Want to share them or?
Too many papers. Thank you very much.
I want one. For my records.
Great seeing you, Brooke.
She was asking for you the other day, too.
Yeah, you don't either. Did a lot of walks with Russ Wheatley.
I'm taking your envelope. I'm taking this.
Keep them in case. Yeah.
All right, that's done.
Okay.
I think we're done, aren't we? We did the order conditions. Sugar Mama.
So this is the old plan, so we don't want that.
No, but I like to keep it, just to be on the safe side. And he did say the dimension of the house will be 36 by 30. Aye. Take one down,
Right.
pass it around.
All right, you guys ready?
No, give me a minute, please. Thank you.
At the one that work?
I should just gotta show them plan.
Okay.
35.
Ready now, Gene?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
A1's gonna be.
35.
As shown on plans.
Oh, as shown on plan.
A2. A3. A4.
None.
I mean, no, A5 in case they do hit water when they're doing the foundation or something.
Okay.
Okay.
A6.
Yep.
Just B6.
It's not in the floodplain.
Yeah. Nothing for C. Nothing for D, nothing for E. Nothing for F. G1, G2, G3, G4, G5. What do we, the tight, it's a very tight spot, so. I don't think they're gonna have any stockpiles anyways, right?
Very minimal, I think, just the initial excavation until you get the foundation and backhoe and everything come right up. And at that time, we know what the trees were going in the foundation. Because it may be too close to meet the height. And
Yep.
then say, listen, I'm gonna plan on,
Right.
so I don't know very quick.
So then realistically, how far away would you try to keep
If they're far enough
the
away,
fill or
I
debris?
think the okay ones don't disturb the roots. So I'm gonna try my best to.
So 50 feet?
50, that's your 50-foot right there, so.
Which would they would have to do?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So say 50, so we'll say
50
50 feet
feet.
then.
Yeah, we're already outside that.
Yeah,
now, so-
yeah.
Yeah.
G6, G7, H2, H4, H5, H6 will be, not B, so it'll be H6C, D, F, and G. H7 will be, what do we want to put here? Yeah, it'll just be C.
No fertilizers,
Yeah, that's C, no?
yeah,
Yeah.
et cetera, yeah.
H8, H9, I1, I2, what are we gonna do here, will be A, B, C, no D,
Right. Jason told them she could probably bring that one. They don't want to see, right?
Well, no, we're gonna add something in the special orders for it. No D, no E. And special conditions, what do we wanna do for special conditions for the, how do we wanna say the special condition for the trees? If trees need to be removed, applicant will notify conservation to schedule a site walk.
And submit a plan.
And you'd submit submit a plan,
With the reasons therefore.
yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's like standard operating procedure.
Any other
That's what they-
special conditions?
Yeah. Yep.
If not, somebody wanna make a motion to approve the order of conditions?
What's the
Why
number
do we
again?
have two of them stapled together?
I don't know. You're the lucky one, I guess.
I'll make a motion to approve the order of conditions for SE 0840572, 75 Block Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Congratulations.
Thanks for your time and your patience.
Thank you for the additional information, Brooke.
Nobody has anything else? Somebody wanna make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.